Okay, so I think the first thing that we should go over, and I think this is a question that I get asked the most on Instagram, emails, whatever the case may be, is how do I get into stunning? What bike should I get to start into stunning? What do I need to get into stunning?
Yeah.
You know, all these questions and stuff. And the first thing I always tell people is like, dude, you can stunt any bike, you know?
Absolutely.
Obviously, you don't want to start off with a 1000 cc if you've never ridden a bike, you know? But I think right now, the bike that's going to grow this sport is the Honda Grom. The Honda Grom and Kawasaki Z125 right now are the bikes that you can get the least expensive. You can still ride them. They're street legal. And as far as like potential of you getting hurt, it's the least, right? Like, wouldn't you agree and stuff?
I completely agree. I think that, and there's many aptitudes of you to jump on and get started in this sport. Look, the first thing, it's dangerous, right? Second thing is protect your investment, right?
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that because I'm here at Impaktech. I'm saying this because it's the truth.
Yeah.
Because that bike goes down, you can't ride anymore. But if you really, really, really want to get into it and you really want to increase your abilities, get a Grom, get a Z, get a 125 of those style of bikes,
Right.
and learn on it. I learned circles on a Grom. And then when I went to a big bike, it transitioned perfectly.
Right.
And I can give you a handful of guys that started on those bikes and that have gone to a big bike and now are killers.
Yeah,
you know. And I want to be clear, they are still dangerous. Because they are small doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. They are very dangerous. I've actually have several friends that lost their leg doing it, right? So don't think that you're going into this like it's going to be, you know, safer than a bigger bike. It's just as dangerous. But if you really want to get into it, I think, and I agree with you, a Z or a Grom is the 110% the way to go and start out with. If you are into, like, you don't own a bike yet, you know, kind of thing, and you want to get into sun riding, get there. A lot of people start there. But a lot of people tend to do like how I started. I bought my first ever bike was a 2007 Kawasaki ZX6R, and I wasn't really into stunt riding. I did not want to stunt, believe it or not. Right. I was like, that's dangerous. I don't want to do it, you know. And then I saw a dude on the streets one day, and he was in high chair, and I was just like, wow,
this is awesome.
I am.
You got hooked. Man.
I'm hooked.
Yeah.
I gotta learn, and so. Groms and Zs weren't out yet back in 2007, you know, so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to learn on the bike I had, and turned out, like, the bikes you really want to ride are kind of like the Kawasaki's, and, you know, if you can get them in FRI, you know, Hondas are good, you know, but again, like you said, you can start on anything, dude. I mean, you got a Teach McNeil that's on a freaking BMW 1000RR, but he's a pro. Like, that guy's just, like, he's just really, really good.
Yeah, he's a freaking nature,
He's
really
a beast, a beast, right? So, and you got guys that are on R6s and things like that, and that's fine. Again, like you said, you can start on anything. But if you are not currently owning a bike and you want to get into sun riding, get a Grom.
Yeah, I think the reason why the Grom is so good as well is because you understand throttle control. You understand a lot of movement. Like, for instance, on a rolling burnout, when you're first learning how to try one, it's so scary to dump that clutch, hold that front brake, and drop your throttle. That's a trick that if you don't know how to use the controls as well, you can get hurt really bad. That front wheel can pop up. You know, you can 12 o'clock. That you can shoot straight forward. I think Jason Britton actually broke his neck on one of those because he was drifting against the wall. So, like, doing a rolling burnout on a Grom, you have less potential of danger because the motor is so small that you start understanding, okay, this is how much front brake I need, this is how much throttle I need, this is how much clutch I need to let go, you know. So I think that's the biggest positive side on having a Grom in a Z125. And then, like, dude, they're cheap. Yeah. Like, so cheap.
Yeah, and I agree with you. They teach the fundamentals of stunt riding, right? Like, you know, the clutch work and then body positioning and things like that nature. But a lot of people have gotten creative on those things, man, and it's nuts. The Grom life out there, and I say Grom life because Groms were out first, right? But the 125 life that's out there is wild, dude. You got guys doing head drags and like hand drags and like circling death spins that go for forever. Like, it's crazy. It's opened up like our thought and our process of like what is really out there and what is the capabilities of, you know, of doing things. You know, it's crazy. But yes, it does teach you the fundamentals. You know, on clutch work, braking. You know, there's hand brakes on those things. And again, I can't stress enough that it transitions well into a big bike. it's a good entry level for starting like on a 50 to like, getting to, a 125 and going to these bad boys. And everyone's like, should I get like a 300 or a 250? I'm like, absolutely not. Like, don't do it. And it's a financial reason why.
Yes.
It's a financial reason because those things lose a value right off the lot.
Right.
So when you go sell that, you're going to lose money already. And tack that on to a $10,000 to $15,000 bike, depending on what you get, you're adding that on. It's not good. It's not really a good financial move for you.
Right. And I think also like just like the motor on like one of those Ninja 300s or the Ninja 400s, it's horrible. Like you can't do a circle wheelie, the throttle's not there.
You have to compensate a lot with like the sprocket, and then you got to map the ECMs, appropriately, and hopefully they don't bog, and it's just there hasn't been much success.
Yeah, I think definitely if you are trying to start getting into stunning, if you don't have a bike already and you're looking to get a bike and you actually want to do this, get a Grom. The reason why you should do it, it's cheap, it's inexpensive, you're always going to be able to sell it really quickly. I mean, you throw that thing up on OfferUp and it's going to sell in 2-3 hours.
Easily. People are always looking for them. And the first thing when you do, because there's always that, okay, great accomplishment, you bought a Grom, you bought a Z. That's great. Like I'm honestly happy for you. And have we discussed in the past? Like I think the sport should get bigger, right? Skateboarding started very, rebellious as well, right? Like doing underground little competitions and stuff, and that's what we do. We do the same exact thing. But the first thing you need to do after purchasing that, making that investment, is protect your investment.
Yeah.
You have to cage it up. Like everyone's like, well, I'm gonna get a sprocket because it's good. Get a cage. We can do everything you can on a stock sprocket. We absolutely can.
100%.
Yeah. So,
I hate the whole sprocket thing. I hate when everybody says you need a 62 sprocket, you need a 52 plus sprocket. It's like, no, you don't. The first thing you should do, I wouldn't even get an exhaust. I wouldn't even get anything but a cage to begin with, because the moment your brand new bike falls on the ground and you break one of those fairings are going to cost you, $400-$600.
Yeah, easily.
Used. That's not even new.
With scratches.
With scratches.
Right? And you're like, oh, this thing, whatever. But more so, your case, your engine, that's like $3,000 plus. Where a cage you can get at Impaktech for a minimalistic price and save it. And you're like, okay, the pucks are scratched. Big whoop. Like pucks. Like big $20 pucks. Like big whoop, right? Would you rather replace pucks, or would you rather replace your case, or your engine, or your plastics, because it protects the whole thing, But it's crazy. People, the thought process, and look, everyone's new, right? Like there's like no shame on yous, but everyone learn, right? And I think like the new style of stunt riding that's coming in is kind of like, I don't want to say arrogant, but like they just don't listen to the people that have paved the road for stunt riding. I've been around for a long time. Jason's been, and there's many people that were like more OG than I know, that have taught me lessons of like, hey man, what I would do if I was you, and I'm a guy that takes criticism. Like I don't take it as an ego thing at all. Like you tell me, Juan, if you tell me something right now, like, hey Mitch, I would kind of get rid of this because of that. I'm like, you know what, Juan, I didn't think about that, dude. You're on to something, right? I'm not like, he just wants to sell Impact. No, it's not that. You have the better interest for us, right? And that's kind of the design that Sun had came out with the double puck and stuff like that. So it's wild. It's really, really wild. But yeah, protect your investment. First thing.
Yeah, and I think here at Impact, we pride ourselves on just making the best fucking cage in the world, man. Like, I think one of the things that like I keep repeating and I keep like just saying is our cage is fully automated. So every single component on our crash cage comes out of a machine. So what I mean by that is like those motor mounts that go onto the motor, the bends, the smaller tubes, the crossbar, everything is seen through like a CNC machine, and it's welded by a robotic welding arm. So like it's precisely fit. I know a lot of these other crash cage companies, like, and I'm not talking bad at them at all, but they're cutting them by hand, and there's always human error when it comes down to stuff like that.
Yeah, and you, like you said, there is nothing wrong with what they do, but here's the thing, like, I'm a very meticulous person, right? Like, I come from, like, an educated background. Like, I went to college, I have a degree, and I kind of think more than I should in a sense, I guess. But, like, I look at a company like Impaktech and how I've known Sun for a very long time, from when he started building cages in his mom's garage, And you look at, from an outside perspective looking in, and I see all the things that you guys are doing to put back into the company to create good product. I'm like, wow, like you got these guys like, oh, well, we want to just make more. I'm like, that's great. Like, you know what? But Impaktech has been making cages for a very, very long time. And there's nothing wrong with anybody else's. I know everyone and the owners of every cage company, and there's nothing wrong with their stuff. But if I have to look back and be like, look, who I'm going to jump on the boat with is those that I think that put back into themselves. Because I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put back into me, right? Like with the investments that I have made, my bike and its worth and like everything that I've done on that thing, dude, I crash all the time on that thing, and everyone's like, oh, that bike's nice. I'm like, yeah, look close though, right? Like look at some scratches, look at some things. Like, dude, the first day I rode it, I did a show in LA, crashed in front of like 200 people.
Damn.
Right? Because I wasn't used to the bike, and I brake raped it, and I mousetrapped over it. It was wild. But again, you know what happened? Nothing. The front end had a scratch of on the wrap, and Kelly Rap Shop was pissed, and I know,
like first day,
the first day out, I'm like, I'm sorry, you knew what you were getting yourself into, and it's just wild. But to see what Impaktech has started to and I can't say beginning to finish because you guys aren't done.
No, we're not even close.
I mean, robotic arms, like that's crazy to see. It's crazy, but that's my point. Is why I kind of invested my time, into Impaktech myself. Again, like we talked about, it's a partnership, man. This isn't a one-way road. Like, give me free cages. It's not how this works.
Right.
Like I have to be able to supply you guys the return on investment of why we're here. And you know what? It's if I look at it in my perspective, I'm benefiting nonetheless because I have a quality good product on my bike that's going to protect my very $10,000+ expensive investment that I have made to do my hobby, right? Like, this doesn't pay my bills. Like, granted, it exposes me and gets me out into the world, which is what I want, right? We only have one life to live.
Right.
But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, right?
Yeah,
and you guys done a great job, and not just like, oh, we're going to make more stuff. You put back everything that you guys have done and put it back into your own company.
Oh, yeah, man, 100%. I think that over the last, 6-7 years, that's when we actually really started making some money. The first 5 years of the business, it was literally we were cutting it bill to bill to bill to bill. So, Son, the owner, he was, making money. He was still living in his mom's house, but he was just trying to invest in more equipment. He was going, an offer up, trying to get snap-on tools. He was trying to get better welders. He was trying to get better, benders, all these things, and he still continues to do that to this day.
Yeah.
For instance, last year, it was probably our best year ever. I'm not going to say any numbers, but it was pretty wild.
Wild.
And
that's great.
Every single dollar that we spent went into new equipment. We got a brand new 5-axis CNC Haas machine. That was $250,000. We got a brand new robotic welding arm. That was $200,000.
Yeah.
We upgraded a lot of our jigs. With hours and hours that he had to put into that. That was another $50,000. So we're literally reinvesting everything that we make into our company
to ensure that you're making a value quality product for people. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say the same for a lot of other companies. I'm not saying other cage manufacturers. I'm saying for other companies. I mean,
in general, yeah.
Dude, in general.
Tomorrow, if this closed down, if California for some reason said you can no longer make crash cages, we'd be done. We would be done because we're not looking at this in the short term. I want to make money 10, 15 years from now. I want to invest. I want to grow this company. I don't want to, store money away. I don't want to have money in the bank. I don't want to have any of that stuff. I literally just want to reinvest in this because this is all we got.
Yeah.
And we're pushing this 100%. We're going to continue to do it. A lot of these other companies and, or other businesses in general, they get a lot of money from one really good year and they go out and they buy a really nice car. They go out, they buy a really nice house, they invest their money in other things besides their company,
Right.
And we do the complete opposite. Even when it comes down to our employees, we make sure every single employee that we have, we treat them like family, that they get compensated correctly, that they want to be here, that, oh damn, it's hot, okay, let's put AC in the warehouse.
Your turnover, right? You have a very low minimalistic turnover of employees. Son's really good friend is still working for him.
Yeah.
It's been years,
Dude, our lead CNC guy or engineer, he was going to Riverside College in 2007. And he was rooming right next door to Son.
Yeah.
And the way he found out was because Chow, our CNC guy, he needed a loan for college, and he kept seeing Son, coming in with new bikes and all this stuff. So he went up to him. He's like, "Hey man, if you want, after school, I'll start cutting material for you. I'll do this and that, and you can pay me minimum wage."
Yeah.
He did that. 6 months later, he paid off his loan, and ever since then he's been working with us.
Yeah.
And now he has his own house, he has his own car. He has a great family. Dude, it's been an amazing road.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but within stunt riding, it draws the audience that we draw is a low income, again, rebellious type of personality and characters that are out there, right? So it's like these guys like, I just want a cage, I want to hit the streets. That's great, right? And that's cool. There's every like type of life that's out there in the world, and there's I'm not saying one's right or wrong. What I'm saying is like, think outside the box, guys. Like look out for like the bigger picture in a sense. It's like, okay, Impaktech, what are you guys doing? You guys are creating a forum for people to get educated on the proper ways to do things, what, the pros would do differently or better, or what they've experienced, and enlighten that, right? Like that's a noble thing. And what you guys do in an outside perspective and putting back into your company, I'm like, damn, these guys are the real deal, right? Yeah. And I would like to be on that train. Right, and it's not like for a financial gain, dude. My real job, I do financially well. This isn't like I can't afford an Impaktech cage. It's not that at all. Obviously, I have a very expensive bike, right? And I didn't pay for everything on there, but I did put out a good chunk of change.
No, yeah,
because nothing was free, right? Yeah. Nothing is free, ideally, right? But with that said, it's like, hey, listen, I'm in it for the reason of the community. I think that it needs to get bigger. I think we should get represented like skateboarding. And I use skateboarding because I was around skateboarding when I was a kid too, and it was like, we're like, oh man, we're skateboarding out at some like random mall and we're getting kicked out by security.
No, yeah.
What's the difference with us going to a parking lot and getting kicked out by cops, right? Like, what they ended up doing was creating parks for us to skate at. And that's inevitably what we should be doing, right?
Right.
We should be looking for incentives and working with the city to be like, we need a sanctioned spot for us to ride. And
there's a really good documentary, I believe, on Netflix about Tony Hawk, and it breaks it down perfectly. When he was younger and he was super rebellious, and they were getting kicked out of malls, they were getting kicked out of everywhere, and then his dad, was like, dude, like this can't be happening. Like my kid has talent. There's all these small brands that want to build up their brand and their reputation, and he started helping out. Went to the city, went to the state. Eventually, dude, now skateboarding is what a friggin' multi-billion-dollar.
It's in the X Games, and they're talking about being in the Olympics and stuff.
Yeah. Kawasaki just came out with a new like electric dirt bike for like 2-3-year-olds and stuff, right? So like I think that like the whole motocross industry, it's like a perfect example of like what could be if stunting grew into that. What could be if like your parents were buying you small groms and learning you how to wheelie and stuff. And again, I don't think people are going to understand what it feels like to pop a wheelie or to ride this bike in such a crazy adrenaline rush way where you're doing burnouts, you're doing rolling burnouts, or drifting, or whatever the case is. Like, it's so fucking fun. Yeah. And like it I don't know, it makes you feel alive. It's amazing.
Does. Like Balance Point too, like it's wild. Like everyone's like, what's Balance Point feel like? It's a free falling experience. Like once you feel the bike gets weightless, you can like move it around. And the first time you hit it is a culture shock. You're just like, and you don't know what to do. And that's literally the reaction. It's literally it, man. Everyone just like freezes. And they're like, yeah, and the bike just feels weightless. And that's when you're like,
that's it.
Yeah, right? That's and that's what it is. Like the first time, if you're ever doing motocross, whatever, we all start somewhere, right? Like I started in dirt bikes when I was a kid, and and I always wanted to ride street bikes, and I bought one like without my parents knowing, and I literally kept it at my friend's house so my parents wouldn't find out. I'm like, oh, I'm going to work, and I would just drive to my buddy's house, have the key. It was like in their side yard, and I would pull out, dude. And I was 18 years old. It was like right out, dude. And and I'm obviously older now than 18, and that's to put in perspective of like how long I've been riding for, and at least streets, right? And it's just wild. I just wish there was more acceptance by the parents, like Tony Hawk's dad. Right? I wish that I had a dad that was accepting to it. My dad absolutely thinks it's dangerous what I do, and I even invite him to shows. My mom is more accepting of it, because my mom has gone to a show and she's like, oh, okay. She's seen me doing circles and like drifting and burnouts and stuff, and she's like, he's got control. He knows what he's doing. Like you could just literally see it, right? And I think that like having to do it and like under their like behind their back was like kind of like, I wish that it was just like I had the privilege of playing baseball and football all my life, And I wish I had that same exact experience. Because I don't find myself to be a talented writer. I just find myself to be in the scene.
Stop. You are, man. That's talent.
I've just been in it for a while, man.
Hard work and you've
dude.
done,
Well,
the stuff you can do on a bike is crazy.
It's definitely. I appreciate that. It's definitely a lot of work, man. And that's the thing. Like you said, like if someone really wants to do it and really get into the sport, be prepared for several things: hard work,
right,
and crashing and pain.
Yeah.
And I mean pain financially, emotionally, and physically. All of that. It's a lot, man. But let me tell you, like, it has made me who I am today, not just in stunt riding, but like as a person, like in my career as a job, like for what I do. And I work for a very, very large company, and it has given me the motive and the drive to like, if I'm in a corporate meeting and I wear a suit and tie, so I'm like Batman, man. I'm like during the day I'm in a suit, and at night I'm doing stunts and stuff. It's just wild, right? But it's transitioned and like, listen, don't take no for an answer. Like I never thought I'd have jumped to 50-50. Never in my life to ever think I'd have that particular trick. And then the day that someone like, I have like friends like Killa Cam and Jack Stunts and all those people that are like, do it, go. Push, and that's what the camaraderie is, because it's like everyone's like, it's not a team sport. I'm like, on the contrary, I think stunt riding is a team sport, and they push you to like get better and do what you want to do. But if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be as good as I am, right? And I'm that kind of guy. I'm like, Juan, get out there and let's learn how to catch balance. Let's learn how to drift. Let's learn, like, when I was in Portland, shout out to, like, I think it was Buddy Stunts. He's like 19 years old. And it was me, Nasty Nate, and Jesse James. We're teaching this kid how to do jump to high chair. Wow. And he's 19 years old. And this kid's like, really, really good. And, and he circles really, really well. You could tell he's got really good control. And I'm like, dude, you have it. Like, you just need some emotional push, and and he ended up getting it. He ended up getting jumped to high chair, which is a wild experience. And you see the video, like I'm in the video, and you see me. I have gloves on, like I'm riding gloves, and I throw it at him. Right, not in anger, in like just excitement. I'm like, dude, I'm so stoked. Like I'm not like a guy that like. People I've taken under my wing to like teach them how to stunt ride, which is like a free thing. If you ever want to learn how you want to get into it, just come to a lot, make friends, man. I'm an open book. I will teach anybody anything they want to learn. And I don't know everything, but I'll teach you what I know. Right. But when someone gets something, I'm stoked.
Yeah, dude, it's an amazing feeling.
It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's
right?
Great.
Like I never thought I had jumped 50-50, and I was pushed by those people. And the day I got it, it was like I could not stop throwing that trick because I was like,
wow. Yes, now let me ask you something, because I know that you come from like a corporate background, just like I do. Yeah. How is it, man, when you're in like these meetings and stuff, and then afterwards you're like, hey, Bob, like come over here real quick. Yeah. Like let me show you a video of riding a motorcycle. Man, because I would be fucking losing my mind, man. Like if I was, 21 at a corporate meeting and stuff, and somebody showed me a video of somebody doing a fucking wheelie on a bike, that just gave a presentation about a product, like I'd be crazy.
And I'd be lying to you say it's not a common question. Everyone's like, dude, how do you balance the worlds? And it's a wild one, right? I mean, I think any world to all worlds can be like intertwined at some point, right? And we are talking far here and far there, right? And we're trying to like, it's difficult at times, but it's like I try to bring both worlds as like the things that I know into both together. Like so, like the creativity and everything that I have in stunt riding, I try to bring into the corporate world of what I do, and what I ideally do in my job, and to give you like a small basis of what it is. I'm in basic into corporate sales. Like I oversee a lot of large companies that do business with my company. And trying to grow the business. And so at some points, like I find that I'm trying to be creative and whatever, and the conversation happens. Like we're at lunch, we're at dinner, we're having drinks. Hey Juan, what are your hobbies, dude? What do you like to do? I'm like, well, I'm a stunt rider. And they're like, you're a what? I'm like, I'm a stunt rider. And the first thing that comes to mind, which is the one thing I really want to change. I want to change the idea.
I'm financially dependent completely on my family. Like I provide everything for them. So if I get hurt, kids aren't going to eat. Mom's not going to be able, like, nobody's going to be able to do anything for a while. So, like, how do you get over that?
So, that's a great question, right? Like, I just as you, I'm the sole provider.
That's a scary question, right?
It's a very scary question.
I saw you start thinking right now.
It's a scary question, right? I mean, you think about those things. So I'll tell you a story real quick. So a long time ago, 10 plus years ago, it was Tony Carvajal. If you know who that is,
Great
I'm sure
guy.
you do.
I love Tony, man.
Tony and I are
Tony's
good
awesome.
friends.
He used to work here, actually. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He worked here for 2 years. He was welding crossbars.
No
Yeah,
way.
2 years.
That's
he welded
wild, man.
crossbars.
I got a lot of love for Tony. I think he's a huge pioneer in our industry as well. I hope he gets to see this because I think he's just outside and off of a bike. I think he's just an incredible human being.
Awesome.
Right? He's just a good dude, right? But, me and Tony were at a stunt spot, and it's an OG stunt spot back in the day called Harupa. And everyone went there. Jason Britton, Tony Carbajal, Son, everybody, dude. All the, Brian Boobash, who was like from Pittsburgh. Like people would come out of the country or out of the States to come to this particular stunt spot and ride. And I was just so ambitious back when I was younger. And, Tony, this is where him and I had created a personal relationship. And I don't know if he remembers this because Tony's been around for a very long time, just as much as me. I actually think he's been a little longer than me. And I was just going back and forth. I saw Tony load up his bike in his truck, and I'm trying to learn. Again, this is probably 15 years ago.
Wow, so you were what, 19, 20?
At least.
Yeah.
At least, yeah. So I'm just on my 07 Cowie, the first bike I ever had. I'm just at this spot going back and forth doing wheelies, just trying to catch balance, but learning, right? And I saw Tony load up, and I just see Tony standing there, and I'm like, "Hey man, you can go." He's like, "Nah, I don't really like to leave people, by themselves."
Yeah.
And I didn't know what he meant by that, and I was like, "All right." I'm like, you know what? I feel bad. I'm a very humble person by nature. I'm like, I feel bad this guy's standing here. And it's 11 o'clock at night. It's dark. Wow. The lights are on, so I was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to load up, right? So I park, whatever. I say bye to him. He leaves, and I jump back out there like an idiot. And here's a lesson for all you guys. I'm 12ing the bike, and I crash. I end up hurting my R2L2 in my back, and I had to crawl to my truck by myself and call 911.
Wow.
And so at that point, my life kind of at 19, because at that age I was in college, I was trying to get my degree, and I had my no understanding that this was a hobby, right? And I didn't think I was going to be where I am today, as a stunt rider, and I see myself just what am I doing? What am I doing here? Right? And so I kind of rethought the process of my life.
Yeah.
And, paramedics came, and I went to the hospital, surgeries and all that stuff. And it was wild, man. It was a lesson learned. But the bike ended up landing on my chest. And, I broke my R2L2, my vertebrae, and I had to get some work done and whatnot. And it was a moment in my life in which I was like, man, I need to rethink what I'm actually doing, right? And I hadn't thought about marriage yet at that time. And it's funny because I was actually dating my wife at the time, and she was there for me from the whole get. She's been with me for my entire career, so she has seen me from the guy doing wheelies that was this high to where I am today, And so God bless her for sticking out with me, and it has been a burden, on her for sure, because I'm so passionate about it. But I think to answer your question, it's an answer that I think only you yourself know, right? Me myself, now that I was so ambitious and so driven to just want to get to the Jason Brittons and the Tony Carbajals of the world, where I can never doubt myself as my ability. And granted, I'm there now, I'm comfortable, and I know that I can just jump on any bike and just circle it and drift and burnouts and do a show and whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm granted I've gotten to that point, but it's up to you, and which way's heavier, your success or your hobby, right?
Right.
And to be completely honest, my hobby will never overweigh my success, right? I have a wife now, and we want to have kids, and I have to supply for them. But luckily, I did all the hard work in the beginning, where I got injured, and I did all that, and God forbid, knock on wood, I don't get injured in the future either. But it's a possibility.
Yeah, it always is. No matter how good, at the end of the day, these things are still motorcycles, and a clutch cable can break loose, the throttle can get stuck. Things that are out of our control, and something can go really bad. Yeah. So you risk it every single day when you ride this thing.
I just don't want people to get blinded by this sport and be like, this is all I want to do. I want to be the Jason Britton of the world. There is no other Jason Britton in the world. As hard as you want to be, right? There's Jordan Panamaroff, Stunner 13, Tony Carbajal, Jason Britton. There's these guys that have been doing it for a while and have set a name for themselves.
Yes.
It's just unlikely to happen. So, be realistic. If you, don't put your career behind a hobby. Like, this is a hobby, guys. Skateboarding. And I always use skateboarding because skateboarding is an ideal, realistic, like, scenario. You're not going to be Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
You're just not going to be those guys. Like, the likelihood... Look, I'm not trying to defer anybody from, like, their dream. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying the sport isn't
real with
there.
yourself, man.
The sport isn't there to support you in that. Right? Tony Carbajal, Jason Britton, Tony Hawk, those guys were in the development of their sports and have created and went on to a way in which they can create a career out of it. The sport itself can't sustain us right now being, fully Kawasaki-sponsored riders.
Yeah. And I was just watching this video the other day about Jason. I think he had mentioned that he's broken every single bone in his body, and some of the bones have been broken twice.
Yeah.
Like, man, this guy...
I'm surprised
when I first started when I first started working here, because I came from a corporate background, so I used to work in, like, the automotive industry, and I met Sun through the automotive industry and made the transition to here. But when I first came here, I was so surprised. I was like, dude, this industry isn't even grown yet. Yeah. Like, my main responsibilities where I used to work at was, like, sponsorship for, like, pro mod cars. Mm-hmm. So I was working with, like, the Schumacher family. I was working with, like, the Anderson family. I was working with all those guys, and I knew, like, these big corporate sponsors and stuff. And when I came over here, the only person that, like, had any sort of resemblance was Jason Britton, and everybody else wasn't the same. So something I really do want to talk about is, like, sponsorship stuff, because I get this all the time, man. Hey, how do I get sponsored?
I
Why
can
aren't
imagine.
I sponsored? Oh,
I can imagine, man. Like, your guys' inbox.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
And like, hey, sponsor me. And
wild.
I cannot stress again, like, look, guys, enjoy the sport first.
Yeah.
Don't try to, like, be somebody. Like, understand what it is that we do, right? Like, this isn't just, like, and I've had many conversations with those, like, like, sponsorships, and, like, what is a sponsorship? Like, how does a sponsorship work? And, and I like, if I was ever to own my own business, and granted I do, but if I was ever to own one that used marketing such as, like, you guys do, I wouldn't even call it sponsorships. I'd call it a partnership.
Yeah,
okay?
It is. That's
I
want
to get into a partnership, because that's what it is.
That's
a sponsorship is like, I get all this free money and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, wait a minute. You're coming to me asking me for a sponsorship.
Right. I'm not coming to you.
I'm not coming to you.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I wish everyone could understand a business mindset that no matter what, both parties, the writer and, like, Impaktech, is a business.
Yeah.
And you, as a writer, you want to make your name for yourself. You want to get bigger. You want to do all these things, and that's great. Conduct it like a business, right?
Right.
So if you do conduct it like a business and you approach Impaktech for a sponsorship and you're like, hey, I want to be sponsored, whatever, understand that you don't just get free stuff. Impaktech is also looking for an ROI, just like you are. Right. You went to Impaktech for a return on investment. Like, I want stuff from Impaktech. Okay? They also want stuff probably from you. Mm-hmm. So it's a partnership from both angles.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a great writer either. No. I tell this to people all the time. Like, dude, I have people on the team right now that have made us as a company more money than some of our biggest sponsored writers that we've had for 10 plus years. Like, if you have, let's say, a YouTube channel, if you have a huge Instagram following, if you have a huge TikTok, if you have anything that's going to benefit us in any sort of way to make sales, like, you could be a sponsor. Like, I sponsored this writer on YouTube. I'm not going to mention his name because there's other people out there as well that I didn't sponsor because of this guy.
Yeah.
But I sponsored him, and he didn't know how to wheelie.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
I was literally going to mention that.
Point.
I was literally going to mention that there are some writers out there, that are, like, incredibly good at marketing. And I will honestly be transparent. I think I'm one of them. I'll be honest. Like, am I a talented writer? Like, I think I have talent. I don't think, like, again, Jason Britton, Tony, I can't mention those guys enough. They would shatter me in a parking lot. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I have, why I do so well in what I do, is because I find myself to be a good, like, marketing material. I look at everything as a business standpoint and how, like, I can approach things appropriately where everyone is happy. Like, man, I like dealing with BTK. That this dude has helped me with with ABCD. You know, like we talked about Cali Wrap Shop. Like I got you guys linked with them, dude. The benefit was, the ROI was, I get my wraps once a year from those guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Cali Wrap Shops, because I want to give Anthony a shout out.
Absolutely, dude.
I was working with Anthony, man. He's such a great guy.
He is.
Like, I love giving shout outs to people's companies where, like, you genuinely
they
have a
actually
great
follow
team.
through with their thing,
Yes,
dude.
man.
Yeah,
and, like, it's crazy
absolutely.
because, like, I feel like I was sending him pictures of, like, his business cards here, wraps, tagging him, and I feel like he was so surprised that, like, somebody was actually fulfilling, like, his agreement. Because I know we had a small conversation, and he was telling us that, you know, a lot of people come in, get free wraps, boom, never hit him up again. You know, and it's so
and that's the
disrespectful,
ROI
man.
that really upsets me. Like, and granted, like, I'm not the owner of Cali Wrap Shop, right? Like, huge shout out to Anthony, like, and what you do, because, like, you are in the business of marketing materials, and wraps are exactly that, right? Like, those cars and vans that you see across the freeway, you just see them all wrapped, and it's marketing material, right? And you're hoping for a ROI, and that's I feel like, if you guys can make an edit and put ROI right here in my hands, right here, like ROI, right? You'll understand that that's a conversation.
If you don't know what that term means, do not ask for a sponsor. If you don't know what ROI means, do not
you're in the wrong plan. But Anthony has done a really, really good job on holding his end, and as me and you have held our end as far as fulfilling, like, what we are to do and fill their shop up with customers, and I as vice versa with you guys. Like, I try, like, if anyone's gonna ask me, like, hey man, what cages should I run? First answer and only answer will be Impaktech.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Well, as far as the wrap thing, so going back to the whole wrap thing, I remember, like, 5 years ago when wraps became a thing, everybody wanted to open up a wrap shop. You know, I had friends who tried to open up a wrap shop. I had people taking courses, and I was like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, there's so many wrap shops. Like, why? And like, a year later, fast forward a year later, there was, like, a ton of YouTube videos, like, exposing a lot of wrap shops. Like, these guys don't use knifeless tape. These guys don't use the right products. There's scratches that I use my paint. And it started getting scary, like, really scary.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to wrap my car, man. I was like, I'm not going to trust somebody with my car.
You're going to rip it off and you're just taking off your clear
I was like,
coat.
I do not want to do that, especially, like, just by gauging the shop, you know? Like, somebody can talk really well but have a horrible job, you know? So Anthony, I mean, I think he's been doing this for a very long time. Right? Very, very long time.
When I first met Anthony, I was like, I went in there, because I actually approached him, and I said, hey, listen, I'd like to, like, represent you guys if there's a possibility. And he says, let's see what you can do, and yada yada yada, which I think he did appropriately, right? Like, he doesn't show up and just, like, give you a sponsorship. He wants to see my ROI. But more so, I had questions for him, like, hey, listen, like, I know I want to invest in you, but I would like to also know what you have going on. Dude, they use 3M and all the best products. Yes. I'm like, dang, these guys are the business.
Their facility in Rancho Cucamonga is beautiful. What is it, like, I want to guess 8,000 square feet?
At least.
You know, like, everything they do
and
is
dude, I've seen them wrap all kinds of things, dude. Tow trucks, fire trucks, cars, obviously, bikes, you know, and I want to be completely, like, transparent with people. Like, everyone's like, oh, I want to wrap, thinking that wrap is cheaper than paint, and in reality, it's not.
No,
it is not cheaper than paint, and here's why. It's not like material. It's the labor.
Yes.
It's the labor to have to go through all these hard creases and make sure there's no bubbles, you know, and smooth things out and stuff like that. So, like, I highly recommend wraps. I really do. You know, because if something does get damaged, you can just wrap the one particular portion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it is a wrap that is printed on a blank sheet of vinyl.
Yeah.
And so you can be like, hey, I want, like, a Chinese anime character stabbing an apple.
And he'll make it for you.
And he'll make it.
He has a graphic team.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But, like, picture trying to do that in paint, you know, then your price starts going up. So people are like, oh, I want to just do matte black. It's cheaper. I'm like, actually, it's the same price if you do matte black or, like, chrome or whatever to a anime design that you want to put on. You want to put pineapples all over your freaking bike? By all means, go for it. But the price will still be the same because it's just a printer that they put in designs on and it prints out. It's the install that costs money. So, and, like, well, here we are, like, protect your investment. Like, I think wrap is the best choice that you can do. I mean, obviously, like, you know, I think Cali Wrap Shop's, like, the best thing since freaking sliced bread. But,
no, it's awesome.
You know, they're great people. The quality of work is awesome. You know, they've been a huge supporter of me, so I can't say.
They're the ones that wrap Johnny Boy's Torque Law / Impaktech van. They did our shop truck, the Tacoma. They've done numerous other vans for other partnerships that we have. I mean, yeah, and always like the turnaround time super fast. Like I remember that van. I think I got it done in like 4.5 days.
Well, remember we
4.5 days.
Dude, we
like,
first started. Where you're like, we want to do Johnny Boy's van, and I was like, all right, and I was negotiating with them because I'm that kind of guy where I'm like at the ROI, like I want to show and bring face, like Juan, here I'm bringing you these customers. I want you to know that I did that, right? I want you to know that I'm the one helping and facilitating, so that way you know that hey, I'm holding up to my bargain, right? Like being Impaktech and being on your guys' team, like I want you to know that I'm not just like, yo, use my code, you know, or here's Juan's number, right? So facilitating that scenario with you guys. You know, and I expressed to them and said, hey, these are good friends of mine, you know, and they ended up like doing such a good price and quality. That's how the shop truck came about.
Let's talk about that. Like, by the way, like, do you see how much effort we're putting into this, like helping these guys out? Like, this was not free. You know, like we did not get that van for free. We did not get that truck for free. We paid money to have them. The reason we're so excited and that I'm so happy with Anthony's shop is that I love it when I finally find a shop that I can trust.
Yeah.
When I can find a shop that does good work. When I have a relationship with the owner. Like, I love that stuff. Like, this was not for free. So anybody who thinks this is for free or that we're just giving free promo because they paid us, no, absolutely not. Yeah. This was paid with our hard-earned money that we could have used elsewhere with somebody else, you know?
Absolutely.
You know, obviously it was at a discounted price and we appreciate him for that. But not free whatsoever.
But that's the partnership that we've created, right? Like, hey, listen, like, granted, like, we have a large following. We think we can help you out. If you can help me out, I'll pass it along. You can make it up on the, you know, in low margins, long volume.
Yes.
And that's a business thing that you tend to learn. That's my favorite motto: is low margins, long volume. And, you know, you make it back in a partnership that we've created. But, yeah, huge shout-out to Anthony. I mean, I appreciate, you know, him and Anthony Jr., his son. They're great. I mean, Kylie Rapp.
Make sure to link everything. Like, right now, like, make a little slide, giving him some promo and stuff, put his address, phone number, logo, all that kind of stuff. We still have his business cards on our desk to this day.
You know, you could use my bike as, like, B-roll, you know? And, like,
we'll do something like that for him. Yeah. Okay, now, going back to this. So, sponsorship stuff, right? Because this is a great lead-off towards it.
Absolutely.
When somebody reaches out to me and they say, hey, Juan, I want to get sponsored by the Impaktech, right? And they send me an Instagram message or a DM. The first thing I'm going to say is always, hey, man, here's my email address. Send me your sponsorship proposal.
Yep.
The first thing they say is like, what is a sponsorship proposal? What is that? I can't just send you a message on DM and then just expect free shit.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like I get something and it literally just says a sentence like, hey, my name is so-and-so. I live in so-and-so. I can do a wheelie. I need these parts, blah, blah, blah. Can you sponsor me? It's like, no. That is not a sponsorship proposal.
Have you ever, and here's a question for the public, right? Like, have you ever been at a job and that you're sitting there in an interview and they ask you a question you didn't think of? This is exactly that moment, right? You're like, oh, you want, I wasn't really prepared for that, right? If you want to go to the next level, which sponsorships and writers and things like that, that is the intro to what is expected as a sponsored stunt rider. Like, you don't think Jason Britton didn't just contact Kawasaki via Instagram like, want to sponsor me?
Yeah.
This dude came in with fully dialogued proposal sheets of like, this is my following, this is what I can do for you, this is what I currently do, this is the amount of exposure that I can bring to you, like those things, right? Yeah. You have to be well versed and well prepared. Like, this isn't like, if you want to go to that next level, you need to start thinking that next level. You need to live that life. This isn't like, granted that this sport, again, like I said, I stressed in the beginning, this sport came from like your mom's garage and like your dad's garage and your you know, grandma's and all that stuff. Like, it started as a low budget rebellious sport, but it is evolving, you know? And so like Red Bull sponsors people, you know? You think Red Bull just, you know, hit up these dudes from Europe to like, you know, be sponsored? No. Right. You know what I'm saying? They proposed to them, like, this is what I do, this is the exposure I do. I can get you exposure across the nation. I can well represent your company. And at the same time, it's like, if you're doing illegal activity, they might not want to. Jason doesn't ride streets, and that's good for him, right? That's good for him, you know. And they don't want to expose themselves to illegal activity. That's fine, you know. But you have to be well versed to understand that argument may be brought up, but you have to be prepared for those things. You don't just willy nilly go in and be like, "Can I get a free sponsorship?"
Yeah, and also you have to be devoted to this kind of stuff. Dude, you know, man. Like, you don't know how many times I've been working with somebody that has like a large Instagram following, right? Like, I have people that have like 500,000, 1 million followers, and then, you know, we're working something out. I promise them I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you this cage, blah blah blah, and then 4 months later they sell their bike.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what, I don't want to stunt anymore. And it's like, dude, you just wasted 4 months of my time. You just wasted all these back and forth conversations. Like, are you going to do this or are you not going to do this? And I always ask people that, you know, like somebody gets a brand new bike off the dealership, they'll message 30 companies, see who replies. And then the first thing, you know, like, hey, like, how long have you been riding for? Have you been riding for a while? Do you plan on doing this? Are you going to sell that bike? You know, are you going to expect me to give you more stuff when you sell that bike? So all these questions you got to ask yourself to determine if you even really want to do this to begin with, you know, because the last thing you want to do is like get blacklisted. Because we have a blacklist, man. I created one. And I give it, you know, all our competitors and stuff, I know the owners of every company, just like you do. And I give these blacklists to people and I let them know, hey, man.
Be careful.
Be careful with this person because of X, Y, and Z, you know? And like, it does exist. You know, maybe some of you that are watching are on it, you know, who knows? But there is one. And you don't want to be put on that because trust me, they're going to take our word for it, you know? Especially if you did us wrong, if you did us dirty in some sort of way, all those companies are going to take our word for it. And you're not going to be able to get any sponsorships in the future.
Granular picture, right? Like how the way I look at things. At my company, I have responsibilities of being able to interview folks and so forth and so on. And a lot of the time I get resumes, and I overlook them, right? And I look and I see, wow, in the last 10 years, this guy or gal has been employed by 5 different companies. So his retention rate is about 2 years, right, per company. And I see that.
It's horrible.
And I'm like, I don't want to invest my time or my company's time into this particular person. I think that this guy might be a waste of our time.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that. But if I see one guy that's been at a company for 15, 20, 10 years, I'm like, this guy has a suited seat at a company and well versed into investing into him, and we might get our word of the day, ROI.
Yeah. So, and for example, like Jason, I think Jason's been with Kawasaki since 2006.
At least
he's been with Icon since 2005. He's been with us since 2011. All these companies that you see him sponsor, he's been with for a decade plus. You know, he's not going out to other companies and reaching out to them. You know, he's not saying, well, you know what, this company, they're not going to give me free stuff, so let me reach out to this company and this company and this company. He's not bandwagoning other companies, you know. He selected somebody that he wants to work with, a company that he feels well represents a sport, well represents him, makes great products, and he's stuck with him for all these years and stuff.
And I think that, again, and I know Jason well, and I think what Jason does really well is where we lacking. If you want to take your career in stunt riding to the next level, you need to be on his realm of he appropriately conducts himself professionally the entire time.
Absolutely.
And again, for like myself, like I learned from that. I said, listen, man, that guy has the professionalism that I like, and I'm a prime example. You don't have to be that good to be well connected. I'll be honest with you. Am I good? I'm decent. Like I find myself to be a decent rider. I'm a little hard on myself, and you should be, right? Because there's so many talented riders.
Enter some clips of him riding. Please enter some clips of him riding, man.
I'm just a difficult. I'm hard on myself. And there's so many people out there. But I think that where I am the best at, where I blow everybody out of the water, is my communication, my marketing, my professionalism. Is that I carry myself like, hey, I would like to be working with that guy because I can trust him. I believe in the message that he's spreading. I believe in what his ideas are and his ideology to take this community onto the next level. And I saw now Jason offers the best of both worlds. He offers the professionalism of BTK with the riding skills of Jason Britton. In reality, he offers the professionalism of Jason Britton and the stunt riding of Jason Britton. You know, like he's just a well-versed person. And I think he went about it correctly. But, you know, and again, I don't mean to be rude or be vulgar, or I'm not here to crap on anybody's dreams of like, you know, oh, you can't be the next Jason Britton. You know, there is the next Jason Britton that's out there. There is the next Tony Carbajal. There's the next, you know, Ernie Virgil. You know, there's the next guys that are out there. And I think a great
way to start with that is if you really are going to dedicate yourself to the sport, make 2 separate Instagram accounts. Make one for your riding style or for riding, and then make a personal one. The reason I say this is because I've terminated a lot of contracts because I see people smoking weed. I see them going out with girls that are like half naked. I see them doing stuff that I do not want.
Representation.
Yeah, not a good representation.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't care if you do those things. Everybody has their own stuff.
That's your personal preference.
But you're not going to represent my company. You're not going to represent Impaktech USA by doing those kind of things. Yeah. And like a lot of people get very offended and say, "Well, dude, it's my life. This is what I want to do. It's my hobby. Hey, man, I'm not grinding on it."
It's my company, and I can do as I choose as well.
Yeah. Everybody
it's the same
can do
thing,
what they
right?
want to do.
And I honestly don't bash you for that. I think that's as a business thing, that's a great idea, because here's the thing: if one day Kawasaki hits you up and you want to be the Kawasaki supplied cages, and they see that your sponsored riders are out with that kind of agenda, and there's nothing against it. I have a lot of friends that smoke weed. I personally don't. Mm-hmm. And you create a great point, right? I actually have 2 Instagrams. I have a personal one and I have a stunt riding one. And on my stunt riding one, it's wild, but again, like, you don't see me smoking weed or anything like that, just because that's just not me, and nothing against those that do it.
Yeah, there's nothing against
it. That's your cause. Yeah. But let me tell you that my cause is I want to remain professional all the time. You're going to see some crazy stuff on my videos, fun stuff, but you will never see anyone that wouldn't want to invest their time into me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And on my personal one, it's me, my wife, and my job, and that stuff. Like, I keep the separate pretty perfect. I wouldn't say like seamless, but it's due to like there are certain conflicts. There are certain conflicts. So, but you again, I can't stress enough ROI on this whole thing, right? Like if they as a representation of Impaktech has nothing but them doing drugs and like drinking and writing, it may not be the most best business profession.
Yeah. And if you guys want like an example of like what you should do, I think the best thing is like go to like motocross, right? Start following everybody that's sponsored by Kawasaki. Start following everybody that's sponsored by Yamaha. Follow their stuff. Follow their day-to-day stories. See how they represent themselves. See what they post, how they carry themselves and
Absolutely.
stuff. Follow them. Follow that blueprint because it works. You know, and it's approved. They're already sponsored by these big companies.
Dude, these guys are making livings off of it, right? And we are in their shadow. I hate to say that, but we are. And I hate to say it, but we are in their shadow because their sport started long before ours did. And motocross has been out for a lot longer than stunt riding, I mean, there's OGs that are out there like, and I'll say it, like the guy that's on West Coast Connection with me, Bulo. Bulo's a really close friend of Sun. And dude, I saw that guy ride before handbrakes became a thing. Mm-hmm. It's wild. And prior to that, motocross was already out 50 years plus.
Yeah.
So they paved the road for us behind that.
Okay, so one last thing so we can wrap this up and stuff. I think everybody wants to know how much it costs to build a stunt bike. So we can do this as like a separate video and we can include this in the podcast as well. But like, give me a breakdown, okay? You don't have to say prices.
I don't mind saying.
You don't have to say if somebody hooked you up. You got to say prices.
Yeah. Look. It's a great question, right? Yeah. But I will cover all aspects of it because I thought about knowing that this question was going to come because of my bike, right?
So just for reference, 2022 Kawasaki ZX6R. Every single bell and whistle has been touched on your bike that has to do with stunting, right? Yep. Motor's been tuned, rear handbrake setup, cage, sub cage.
I think the only thing I haven't touched was the swing arm and the frame. That's the only
which
thing.
Don't need to be touched. If you know how to ride, you don't need to touch those.
Yeah.
And plus, I feel like a lot of those frames, like aftermarket frames, like they make the bike a lot heavier. Like these bikes.
You are 110% correct. You are right. Those steel frames are heavier. Some people prefer them, some people don't. I'm the kind of guy where I'm realistic, where I'm like, look, until I break a tab or until I break something on the frame or dent, then I will then replace. I'm responsive than reactive when it comes to a frame. I am more reactive, and it's not reactive, but I'm more ahead of the curve when it comes to cages because I'm like protect my investment.
Yeah.
The at that level or at the level that you tend to get to, if you tend to break a tab or whatever, from like circling or whatever the case may be, it's very let's say it's not likely, but it's the likelihood of it happening is very less. But to go over the generalistic. And we can do like little, if you want in your edit, you can like bing, 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 bing. Like you could do that. I'll tell you, obviously.
Start from the front and then go to the rear. So use this as like an example.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will tell you straight up, this is not what I paid due to like relationships that I've had. Like for instance, Impaktech, Cali Wrap Shop, Synergy Motorsports, Snake Built, Doc's Garage for the powder and stuff, but the bike itself, you're looking at $10,000+, right?
Let's be honest. Right now, you can't get one for $10,000.
Yeah.
So the bike, what did it cost you? Like 13 grand, 14 grand?
Roughly, yeah.
Because I paid for my new one, I think I paid 13.2, but that was a cash deal. And then we also did another one, our giveaway bike. We financed that one, and we got that one at 14.5.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna say, and I didn't pay that much, but we're gonna say what the realistic is we're gonna say 13 grand, right? So the bike is 13 grand. My triple is about $350. Dirt bar is about $100. My rear set, my rear handbrake, you're looking at with bracket, rotor, calipers, master, reservoirs, and fluid. You're looking at another $1,000 there. All cages, you're looking at like $1,000 there. Rear subframe, you're looking at about $700 there. Rear sets are about $400 there. Flash, you're looking at $350. Seat, you're looking at another $300. Tank, you're looking at another $300. Stabilizer, you're looking at $500. Let's see. I think that pretty much covers it.
Mirror block offs, so they're like $50.
Yeah, mirror block offs. Yeah, thank you. Mirror block offs. The bike's not in front of me, so it's kind of hard to see. But mirror block offs, yeah, $50 around there. Upgraded pads, you're looking at maybe like $150 there. And then labor to put it all together.
Yeah.
You know, that's one that's like a couple $100, you know. And luckily, again, like big shout out to like Snake Built and Synergy Motorworks. Those guys took care of me and put it all together. But you know, that's just the generalistic of it all.
Yeah, we're missing stuff. We just can't remember.
Absolutely,
where
we are. The bike's not in front of me. Oh, the wrap. Yeah, God, yeah. The wrap's about like, you know, between what you're looking for and the style of bike, between $600 to $1,000.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it completely changes the whole personality of the bike.
Right.
You know, 100% well worth it though.
So
you know?
I think we're looking at about maybe $20,000, right?
At least.
So isn't it kind of wild that when you tell somebody that you have a $20,000 bike, they look at you like you are a moron? Like, what are you doing spending that? Because that's like a car.
It is, right?
Car,
I have a two-wheel car.
It's a car that you beat up on purpose.
Yeah.
You know? That you consistently have to keep rebuilding and rebuilding.
Yeah.
I like to say like a setup like yours, for instance, right, is equivalent to like a Formula One setup of like a race car. That's as much as you can do to make it for your particular sport and stuff. So I mean, does your wife get upset?
My wife was not thrilled. I'll be honest with you. So I had a 13 Plus, and I blew the motor.
One, right?
Yeah, the green one that was wrapped again by Cali Wrap Shop, and that bike had many different faces. But that bike, I actually blew the motor, and you know, you can either replace it. But I always, when the 19 Pluses came out, I just wanted one. I really did, and you know. If for those that are married, understand the hurdle in which, like, hey, listen, financially stable and, you know, the right move. And granted, because I had my career path set for me for a very long time now, I could afford a bike like this. And so the conversation with my wife says, well, you well deserve it. And, you know, thank God that we came to that agreement. And it came out to be a $20,000 build. And, you know, it's stressful when you go on a ride and you're kind of like, you know, you're feeling something wrong, like brakes, or like you feel like the fuel pump's giving out. You're like, well, I'm on this very expensive bike and I could potentially crash, which couldn't result to a very expensive rebuild.
Yeah, and it's not like the insurance can cover this, you know?
No,
this isn't an insurance bike.
It's
just like any other race car. Like, you crash it, you're done. You know, like I don't know if you watch like Street Outlaws, but there's a guy named Kai Kelly in there, and he has like this badass $300,000 Camaro. And when he crashed it, I mean, he made a perfect example. Like, dude, this is my livelihood. Like, I destroyed it. There's no insurance that's gonna, you know,
that's gonna recoup me
from my loss, my time, my love for all this, you know, everything. So, you know, like it's crazy when I tell somebody like, yeah, like these bills are 20 grand, and if you wreck them, insurance is not gonna cover them. You know, it's on you to try to rebuild them.
Agreed. And I don't think everyone should go and build a bike like mine.
No.
I'll be honest with you.
No.
I think that you should look. I've been in the game for a very long time, right? Like a very, very long time. A lot longer than I should have been, to be honest with you. I got to my skill level and then started creating these bikes. Like I had an 07, I've had an 03, 04, I've had an 05, I had an I had an 09, I had a 13 plus, and now I have a 19. So I've had a lot of bikes, and they were all not like this nice. They weren't all this clean. They were not. They were trash cans. All of them sucked, like in their own ways. But when I got to the skill level in which I was comfortable and knowing enough that I can retain to keep a bike clean like that, I then said, okay, my investment is going to be the best investment that I can make to ensure that my capabilities and what I'm after and the capabilities that I'm after are able to be sustained on that bike. And I did. And so I don't regret it at all. It has been definitely the most expensive bike I've ever had. I will say in my future, my wife really wants me to be on a Harley. I do plan on to do it someday. I say not to stunt on it, but I probably will. I'm a very adrenaline junkie person, but nonetheless, currently it is the most expensive build I've ever done. Wow. But again, for those that are coming into the scene, do not just buy a bike.
Dude, I feel very spoiled because
this is nice.
This is my. First
I don't know if it's in the screen. Can you guys see it?
This is my first stunt bike.
Yeah, it's a clean bike.
I've ridden 1,000 cc's for forever. I've had BMWs, Ducatis, again everything you can think of, and like this bike is so fun.
Yeah,
like it's so fucking fun.
It is.
I do not want to ride a 1,000.
It is, and when you start stunt riding, like you're throwing a 400+ pound bike around like a redheaded stepchild. And you'll be in a circle wheelie, and then you go straight into drifting, and you're just throwing this thing around. And it's like my bad days that I've had. Everyone has bad days. I've had them. And all I want to do is just go to a parking lot for an hour and just throw this bike around for just an hour, and crash. And it just like, it's the release that some people need. And some people, they like to go for runs or walks. They like to go golfing, or they like to talk to a therapist or whatever. This is my therapy. This is where when my hand twists that throttle, there's nothing else in my mind at that point,
So Snake, right, from is his new mobile company called Full Send Build?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So Full Send Build. Mm-hmm. I know he did a lot of work on your bike and stuff.
Absolutely.
And I remember, he's one of our new sponsored riders. The kid's amazing, man. He's super cool.
Fun fact. Best man in my wedding.
Really?
Yes,
yeah. He was telling me he's like your best friend.
Yeah, he's my best friend. I've known that guy since high school.
He was telling me something about that you started West Coast Connections, or you're very involved in it. So I don't know what that is. I've never heard of West Coast Connections. So talk to me about that, because
I will.
I'm interested on that, because I know he was saying that it's been out for 10+ years.
Yeah. So actually, we've been around since 2003. I will full clarity. I did not start West Coast.
Way longer
than 10 years. Yeah. So I did not start West Coast Connection. Huge shout out to Bulo and those folks. Bulo WCC, again, who is a huge friend of Sun. He actually started West Coast Connection. He's an old Rough Rider affiliate, and he had the image of creating a stunt team. So I have been on West Coast Connection, probably going on for 4 years now. One of the things that I bring, because we are a stunt team, so West Coast Connection is a stunt team. We're not a club. We're not like a riding club. We're a team of talented individuals that are on the western U.S. the United States. There's a good solid 20 of us, from Jack Stunts, Killa Cam, Simone Bruce, those are the popular guys, Star Kid Stunts, Pursuit, I can go all day on our riders that are completely talented. Bulo I would consider to be a complete, hands down, and no way arguable OG of the stunt scene. That guy was around, and you can see clips of this dude on a 98 Gixxer, no handbrake, doing circles or spreaders or whatever with no handbrake. He is one that has, him and amongst others, have paved the road for what we do today. And him and I, we go back and forth. Bulo and I go back and forth, joking, clowning on each other of who's old, and but that's the relationship we have. He's a brother to me, and so. And what brothers do, nothing but clown on each other, But yeah, so I help run. I wouldn't say I'm the sole provider of WCC. It takes every single one of us that's on the team. There's 20 of us. You have guys like Simone Bruce that just kills it on a freaking Harley. Fully bagged out. Bag daddy. And the guy circles this thing. Like a redheaded stepchild, and pun intended, because his bike is red. But you have Killa Cam that's the I believe the face of WCC, while I kind of help do the back end. I'm a businessman, I'm a business guy.
Right.
So I bring that aptitude to the team, and make us successful as we can.
Well, sick, man. Yeah, let's talk about that. after we're doing this, but I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we should cut it off. I think we've been doing this for a while, man.
Dude, thanks for having me, bro.
Much, Mitch.
Yeah, dude, this was a great experience, and I definitely see something long-term with this, and I hope you guys continue to do something like this. You guys should have the Jason Brittons and Johnny Boys and the Smash Stunts, you know, to kind of just get the mindsets of what people have out there on the road that have paved this road for what we got.
Yeah, not just see them on Instagram. Actually get a good perspective.
Get a perspective of who they are, right? Because you might not like them, and then you might like them, or you might like them, and now you might love them.
Yeah, and hopefully this brings you new connections. You know, hopefully a new company sees this and sees like, wow, man, this guy connects himself amazingly. Let's help him out. So thank you, sir.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful bike.
Yeah,
and
thank you, sir.
That's it. Wrap it up.
All right, guys.
Woo! All right, so we just finished filming the podcast. Thank you so much, Mitch. Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Absolutely.
If you guys want to learn about sponsorship stuff, about the beginning of stunt riding, I mean, we talked about so many different things and stuff.
A lot of topics.
Yeah. So this is Mitch's Kawasaki ZX6R. 1 second, sir. So as a thank you, man, I noticed you're missing one part that isn't ours. So we made you this candy red Impaktech.
Absolutely.
Adjustable soap cage, man. So hopefully you rock that in good faith.
Absolutely. This is going right on, dude. Thank you so much, dude.
Of course.